Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where we recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, to the 6th of December, 2023. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So today is the 700th episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel. 700 episodes, guys. That's crazy to me that I've been doing it for so long now, since late 2020 there, and I've managed to rack up 700 episodes, or each being about 30 minutes each, right? Just hundreds of hours worth of Ethereum related content. Never thought I would get this far, honestly. When I started it in late 2020, I was like, who knows where this is going to go, but I want to do it for as long as I enjoy it, and I have enjoyed it up until today, and I feel like I'm going to enjoy it well into the future. I mean, I can't wait until I do episode 1000. That's going to be a big milestone. But yeah, today is episode 700, and I'm actually curious how many of you out there have actually been tuning in from the very first episode. Feel free to sound off about that in the YouTube comments or in the Discord channel if you've been here since the first episode. But I'd love to know, what episode you guys started watching the Refuel at or listening to the Refuel at, what episode number. So do let me know. You can reach out on the Discord channel or in the YouTube comments. I'd love to know there. But yeah, today, as I said, 700th episode, and it is a packed one. You can see the tabs that I've got open here. A lot happened over the last 24 hours. Pretty crazy. I mean, the price went up some more, I think, but I don't want to really talk about that, because that to me is actually, most of the time, yeah, it's exciting, but it's boring as well, because there's just so much happening on the fundamental side of things, and the price going up is just okay, yeah, price is going up, whatever. But I think that, focusing on the fundamental side of things is always more exciting, at least for me. So let's kick it off with an announcement from Coinbase Wallet today. So you can now send money anywhere that you can send a link, easy, instantly, and for free using the Coinbase Wallet. So if I play this video here, you can see what they're doing. So basically, you can send money as easily as through a text. You just copy and pay, and you can see what the flow looks like here. Claim a link to pay with USDC, copy it over, and send it to any of the chat apps that you want, whether that's WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or anything like that. You can send this through, and then the person can claim this via this link here. Now, you can click this link. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. Don't do it on desktop, though, because it'll just bring you to the Coinbase mobile wallet page here, landing page here, which, mind you, I hadn't looked at in a while, and is actually so cool, the outlay of this page here, because you guys know the other day I spoke about how we need to be way more friendly with how you present these things to end users. Well, above the fold here, you can see that they just basically explain what Coinbase Wallet is. There's a nice blue download button at the top, and there's a download link here as well, and you can get started straight away. And I believe that Coinbase Wallet is one of the best Ethereum wallets out there today. It is really user friendly. It's going to get better over time, of course, and obviously it has the backing of the Coinbase branding, which people love, and there's all that good stuff that falls into it. So if you haven't tried it out yet, go try it out. Let me know what you think about it. But yeah, this kind of payments thing that Coinbase is doing with USDC is very different to what Tether does, because Tether, obviously USDT is a much bigger stablecoin than USDC. If I just compare the market caps, Tether is at about 90 billion, USDC is about 25 billion. Obviously USDC lost a bunch of market share because of the fact that they had that depegging event due to one of those banks going down. I can't remember the name of the bank. I think it was Sovereign Bank or something like that. And they lost a bit of market share there. But what Tether doesn't do is it doesn't really focus its energy on increasing payments generally. It doesn't focus its energy on payments integrations. Even though Tether is still used a lot for payments, especially on Tron, it doesn't really focus, Tether as a company doesn't really focus their energies there and their efforts there. And that's where Coinbase is swooping in and being you know what, let's focus our energy on payments. Let's make payments one of our main kind of products. And that's exactly what they're doing with USDC. Obviously, they're not going to be promoting a competitor in USDT, but you could do it with USDT as well. There'd be no issues there, but they really are leaning into this payments use case. And they're not just doing it on Ethereum layer 1, they're doing it on layer 2s and other layer 1s out there. I mean, really, generally, it's just going to be so abstracted away that payments will just be near instant, cheap, and people won't even know what layer they're on. That's that abstraction that I keep telling you guys about that's going to happen, and Coinbase is definitely leading the charge there with their Coinbase wallet. So as I said, you can go check out this link. Be sure to click this on mobile to be able to see what this is all about. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. Right, a massive update today, or a massive kind of product release today from Alessandro Mazza here, who built a new crawler for Ethereum nodes. So as you guys know, that there's been a few different crawlers out there that have tried to highlight Ethereum nodes, particularly on the execution layer side of things. There's Ether nodes, there's the client diversity website, which is like self-reported data, and there's a couple of other efforts out there, but all of them have been lacking. Like all of them have been very rough estimates, and they've been undercounting by a large margin. Well, in comes Alessandro today with this new Reth crawler, which he describes as a dedicated tool for the Ethereum execution layer, having successfully mapped approximately 30,000 nodes in just 10 days. It leverages the Reth P2P stack for discovering nodes and uses Ethereum wire network protocols for connecting with them. This approach facilitates continuous scanning of the network, allowing for the discovery and connection to new nodes. Now, you can read the rest of the tweet. I'll link it in the YouTube description below, but I actually wanted to go to the website here, which is etherclients.com, and show you what this looks like. So this is probably the most comprehensive view that we've ever gotten of the execution layer in terms of clients here. Now, of course, Geth is dominating, right? Geth is still at 73.7% here. Erigon is actually second place with 8.8%, and Nethermind is third place with 8.3%, Besu at 4.6%, and then the rest of the long tail of clients here as well. So given that this is the most comprehensive view that we've had, I think it would be the most accurate as well, which means that we still need to get Geth down a lot more than where it is now. Even though it's really cool to see that we have around 30,000 Ethereum full nodes on the network, right? I mean, you could say between 20 and 30,000, depending on like people running multiple, like the same entity running multiple clients, multiple full nodes, stuff like that, right? Because as you guys know, like I run both Geth and Nethermind right now in production. I do want to still run a Reth client. I just haven't gotten around to doing it. But when you think about it like that, right, in terms of like unique full nodes on the network, in terms of people running unique full nodes, that's an impossible number to get. But it's good to see that we've got like almost 30, around 30,000. I just eyeing the numbers here, if I'm eyeing it correctly. But yeah, you can go check out this for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. There's also a nice little Twitter thread here from Prames who discusses a bit more about this as well, which I'll link in the YouTube description below, and how they basically were able to map these nodes and find so many more nodes that Ethernodes finds. And as I said, this is the most accurate execution layer node browser or node crawler that we've ever had in Ethereum land, ever. Like in the whole history of Ethereum, I have not seen something as comprehensive and as accurate as this. So you should definitely go check this out. And there's also a browse nodes tab at the top as well, where you can actually find your node. So if your node is reachable publicly here, you can go to browse nodes and you can search by IP address, I believe, and be able to find your node in this list here, which is great. And as you can see, there are countries listed here as well. I think they're going to be updating this website soon, like with a brand new look. I think Alessandro mentions that. Yeah, so there's an old front end, which is the one that's currently live on etherclients.com, and they're going to be updating this. And I hope they update it with a host of information about where these clients are geographically, how long they've been online for, or their kind of uptime generally, stuff like that. I would love to see that stuff on this website. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on that as well. But yeah, you can go find the related tweets in the YouTube description below. You go check them out there. All right, Mike Nutter is back with a few others for a new blog post all about timing games in the context of MEV. So I mentioned this, I think, last week or maybe earlier this week about these new timing games. Well, it's not new. I mean, it's kind of a thing that's been known for quite a while, but like how timing games work within the MEV pipeline here, and how they're very difficult to actually work around, and how there's multiple efforts on working around them and have been in the works for like, I think, a year at this point. Well, this new post from Mike and others basically discusses what the impact of this is, what timing games are, and mitigations going forward, or possible mitigations going forward. So they say here possible short-term mitigations, and I believe they've got possible long-term mitigations, along with pros and cons of each approach here. So if you are interested in having a comprehensive breakdown of exactly what timing games are and how we're going to fix them, or at least mitigate them within the Ethereum network, then this is the post for you. I mean, I think this covers everything. I mean, I skimmed over it just before. I haven't read the full thing in detail, but it seems to be very comprehensive and cover everything when it comes to timing games. And obviously, this is a living, breathing thing. This isn't just like a one and done, and there's discussions as well. Like if you scroll down, you can actually see people replying to it. And there'll be more discussions as time goes on, so you can go check this out for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. Alright, so eETHify has been growing really nicely lately. So eETHify has surpassed 20k ETH restaked through EigenLayer, making it the largest native ETH restaker and making eETH the second largest restaked LST, which means it's above both Coinbase and Rocket Pool, which is pretty crazy to see here. And I mean, I did mention to you guys about eETH a little while ago here, and about how you can get the staking APR, you can get the potential restaking rewards, eigenlayer points, and eETH loyalty points as well. So there's kind of a yield burger going on here. But you should definitely go check this out if you haven't yet, because it seems to be a very popular solution with a bunch of people here, which is great to see. I mean, you guys know that I love seeing more and more of these LST protocols coming online, but not only just coming online, but also getting market share here. So generally, when you kind of look at this, and you look at how things are going here, we really do see that people are happy to go with other providers as long as there's a bit of an incentive there, right? As long as there's a bit of an incentive in terms of extra rewards or something like that. So yeah, very, very awesome to see this. Very awesome to see this growth, because this has been pretty quick growth. I mean, I think I've only been talking about them for a few weeks now, being live on mainnet here. So the fact that they've been able to gather almost $60 million of TVL here this quickly is really great to see. And I've always said that the way that we're going to reduce Lido's market share is basically like a death by 1,000 cuts sort of thing, where essentially what you do is you attack Lido from all angles, essentially, and then you slowly chip away at its market share. And it's better that way than just one other protocol taking away all Lido's market share and then that protocol becoming the dominant one. Because I think people don't realize this right now, but Lido, I mean, I mentioned it before, Lido is a concern, but the bigger concern is Coinbase to me. Like, and not because I don't like Coinbase or anything like that, but because Coinbase's relative market share is actually still going up now, and has been going up faster than Lido's from what I've seen. Now, this is because Coinbase has a very good pipeline for institutional staking. So really, any of the big institutions that want to get started staking, they're going to go to Coinbase first, right? They're not going to go really anywhere else. And then Coinbase works with partners like Alluvial, right, who are separate to Coinbase, but they just stake with Coinbase anyway. Alluvial, in my opinion, Alluvial should be staking with other providers, and I think maybe that's on their roadmap to stake with other providers. But right now, they're staking with Coinbase, and as you can see here, Coinbase's dominance over other centralized exchanges is pretty vast. Binance, so Coinbase's market share is 15.2% of the network. Binance is 4.2%. So Coinbase has over a 10% lead on Binance, which is the next biggest exchange here, and then Kraken is even smaller at 2.8%. So as much as people make, a big deal about Lido, I am of the opinion that Lido's relative market share is going to be stagnant, if not trend down, from here on out. And also, Lido's 35 entities right now. It's not one entity like Coinbase is. And also, I don't think that a lot of big institutions are going to be staking with Lido over Coinbase either, because Coinbase just offers a white glove service and probably a better white glove service than Lido could offer. And they're a way more trusted brand when you're talking about big institutions. So when we talk about reducing market share here, I don't want people just going to Coinbase instead of Lido. That doesn't fix anything. I want people going to the long tail of these staking services over Lido and Coinbase, in order to make sure that we can get all of these things, as low as possible in terms of market share here. Because absolute market share can still go up. It's more about relative market share. And what I mean by that is that Coinbase and Lido can still get stake in, but their relative market share of the overall beacon chain should be trending down over time. That's what we would like to see. Now, Coinbase isn't at a level that I would consider to be concerning yet. Maybe if they got to 20%, I'd be like, okay, guys, they've grown pretty quickly here. We need to be sounding the alarm bells, or we need to be encouraging people to stake with other services, but Lido is still obviously the main concern here. But still, services like eETH and other staking services that are coming online, they're taking market share away from Lido and Coinbase for sure, right? And that is, I think, overall good here. But anyway, going to digress on that point there. You can go check out eETH for yourself. If you haven't yet, I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. Alright, so Erigon has published a updated 2024 roadmap here with 4 key highlights. They've introduced Erigon++, Kaplan full consensus archive node, timeline for the release of Erigon 3, and more focus on code quality and user support. So you can see here what the year 2024 roadmap looks like. So Erigon++ is version 2, is a version of Erigon 2 enhanced by components written in C++. And then you've got the Kaplan full archive node, both integrated into Erigon and standalone version of Kaplan with full functionality, including block production and full archive node mode, which supports Ethereum and Gnosis chain as well. And then Erigon 3 is going to be supporting Polygon, Ethereum, and Gnosis chain there. And you can see the timelines of what this looks like. Basically, Erigon++ will be out for Ethereum in Q1 of 2024, and then the others, Kaplan and Erigon 3 in Q2/Q3 of 2024 here. But at the top here, you can see that there is already functionally complete alpha version of Erigon 3 for the Polygon Mumbai testnet, but it still needs some optimization, as well as on Ethereum and Gnosis chain, with Autoscan inside as well, which is an open source kind of block explorer there. So yeah, you can go check out Erigon's full roadmap for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But as I said earlier in the episode, it surprised me that Erigon is actually number 2, not Nethermind. When you look at when you actually look at these new execution layer metrics here, not by much, obviously, but yeah, it seems like people are more and more people are trusting Erigon as a client these days, which is great to see, because from what the people I've spoken to, they said in the past it was, you know, not the greatest client. It still had bugs here and there, but that's because it was newer, but it has gotten a lot better over time. So great to see that, and you can go check out Erigon's roadmap for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, so Radar.network has a new blog post out today saying, excited to be publishing the first open Ethereum node operator performance methodology together with Alluvial or Liquid Collective, which is part of Alluvial, and to have the rated validator effectiveness rating, aka RAVA, become a core part of the protocol's operation. So if you see here what the blog post discusses, it's basically a bunch of metrics that the rated team have put together in order to essentially measure the effectiveness and the performance of a validator. So you can see here they describe it as the RAVA is a measure of how well a validator has been performing its deterministic duties over time. It seeks to be a true measure of performance, attributing points to the validator and operator for attributes of their on-chain footprint that they have influence over. For example, whether they are getting their attestations included, which implies that they are default online, while dampening the effect of metrics that allow randomness to creep into the measurements, such as execution layer rewards that the validator has accrued. So great to see this, because I think that we need more and more of these kind of, I guess, metrics in order to see which staking providers and staking services have the best node operators, so that users can make a more informed decision about which they want to go with. Because Radar.network already has this to some extent. Like if you go to the Radar.network website, which I had up before, actually, it's here, and you see they have their own effectiveness rating here. I think this is an evolution of that, but then they have an effectiveness rating per, so this is the overall network effectiveness rating. And then they have the effectiveness rating per staking service here. So if we go to the last 30 days, you can see what it looks like. It's not too different between services. I mean, you know, you can see it's like 1% difference. And the more node operators there are, the lower it tends to be. So you can see here, Rocket Pool has thousands of node operators. It's about 94% effectiveness. Lido has 35. It's about 96.8%. But then Coinbase and Binance are one node operator, and they're at about 97.3 and 97.5%. So yeah, but like then you have like other centralized ones which aren't as which aren't as performant. But generally, when you're looking at this, the bigger you get as a kind of like a node operator, it becomes very hard to get close to 100%, because there are so many things that can work against you, and and it adds more overhead, especially as more validators join the network as well. But maybe this changes when we have that max effective balance increase EIP go live, where we basically consolidate all the validators. It remains to be seen what happens there, but yeah, I'd be keeping an eye on that as well. But anyway, you can go check out this new methodology from the Rated Network team. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, so obviously the talk of the town in Ethereum for the last few months especially has been all about EIP 4844. Liam here, who is an advisor to Optimism and was actually one of the co-founders of OP Labs, has put together a little tweet basically giving the TLDR of EIP 4844. So L2s currently use 400 megabytes of data a day of call data right now. The EIP specifies 2.75 gigabytes per day in blobs, so we're looking at a 7 times more data capacity than today. But we don't know for sure how cheaper L2 transactions affect demand and how separating gas and data markets affects prices. Now, when you're looking at it like this, it's really hard to gauge what the impact of 4844 is going to be on the network. That's why you may have seen estimates of like 10 to 100 times fee reduction or something like that, because you know, you look at this 7 times number and you say, okay, well, that means fees are going to go down by 7x. But that's not the full picture, because as Liam mentions here, we don't know how cheaper transactions are going to affect demand. We can assume that it's going to bring more demand, right? We don't know how each L2 is going to take advantage of it. We don't know if each L2 is going to actually play kind of this ping pong between the core data market and the blob market, right, in terms of storing their data, and we don't know how separating these markets out affects prices generally either. So it's going to be very hard to gauge what the fees are going to look like until we actually have a kind of mainnet implementation in place. We can make estimates, and they're definitely going to be cheaper, but we don't know. And the way the EIP4844 works right now with having an extra 2.75 gigabytes per day in blobs, that's actually going to go up over time. Like, that's not the final number. We can tweak that up over time as the network becomes more performant, as we do more work to improve the P2P layer, as we do more work with upgrades like the max effective balance increase, which allows us to collapse the amount of validators on the network, which brings the overhead of the network down. So that's going to go up over time. But there's always this thing of like, it's induced demand. When you give people more capacity to do things, they'll take advantage of that capacity, and then the priority fees kick in again, and then we're back to square one of basically, okay, well, the fees are going up because people are willing to pay a higher fee to get their transaction included. And this is true for pretty much every blockchain that has priority fees in place. And every blockchain will eventually, even if they don't now, they will eventually have priority fees in place, because priority fees are a way to prevent denial of service attacks, where essentially if you don't have priority fees in place, what you have is just like a spamming of transactions, and then your network can potentially go offline. And we've seen these play out with other networks like Solana, that, it's gone offline at least once because of this issue, and they've implemented fixes for this, to their credit, of course. But generally, they have priority fees, and at some point, like if they don't increase capacity and they've got like a flood of transactions that come in, then logically, the priority fees go up, and because people want to get their transactions in. It just depends on what's happening on the network. So this is the same for every network out there, and this is, as I said, a way to prevent DOS attacks, but also a way to make sure that the network is generally stable overall, and that we properly meter the demand for this sorts of stuff. So I think demand's going to keep going up from here. I think that it's naive to believe that when it comes to fees and when it comes to being able to get fees cheap over time, it's naive to believe that we're going to be able to get them durably cheap for a while, because there's just going to be so much demand coming in, and there's going to be different ways to deal with this demand. I'm pretty bullish on the external data availability layers in the short to medium term, and at least until full dank sharding is in place. But I'm bullish on them generally as well. I mean, I'm not bullish on. Honestly, you guys know my opinion on this. I'm more bullish on EigenDA over everything else. But like, why I'm bullish on them is because if you think about the types of transactions that need to happen on these networks, if you have a lot of transactions happening and it's for like a game or something like that, you don't need to put that on a full rollup. You don't need to put that on Ethereum layer 1. So what you do is you put that on an external DA, and then you have the best of both worlds, where essentially the funds can't be stolen, but if the DA isn't there, obviously it can be frozen. And if the DA is lost, if the data is lost, but then you can give the users the option, or any external data provider the option, or any external party the option to download and keep that data, and then be able to recreate the state themselves if they so choose, right? So you have like a world of data availability solutions coming online right now. I think that's going to consolidate, just like everything in this industry is going to consolidate over the next 5 to 10 years, but in terms of how EIP4844 is going to affect the overall fees for layer 2s, they're going to bring them down, at least over the short to medium term for sure. But then it's going to be on the layer 2 teams to continuously do updates to their own system to get the fees down even more. And then 4844 will continuously be updated in order to increase the amount of space there is here in order to give more capacity. And it's just going to be like a cat and mouse game, like it has always been when it comes to scaling Ethereum. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see when this goes live on mainnet to see how this actually plays out. I'm excited for it, and I'm sure you guys are too. All right, so L2Beat has another update on their website today. So they've just launched a significant improvement to their liveness page. Apart from insights on transaction data submissions and state updates, L2Beat is now tracking proof submissions for zk rollups. So I showed this page, I think last week or the week before, when they first put this live, and I've said to you guys, I think this is one of my favorite pages on L2Beat these days, but now they're tracking zk rollup updates as well, which is really, really great to see. So you can see here that in terms of state updates, Starknet is doing them in less than a minute here, which is pretty insane when you look at that. But there are other zk rollups here, like Scroll, obviously, and zk Sync, and obviously Polygon zk AVM as well. And you can see the different timings here of their state updates. Now, of course, this will get updated over time because there's a lot of NAs in here, right? No, sorry, not the NAs, the coming soons. The NAs mean it doesn't apply to them. Like a proof submission doesn't apply to optimistic rollups because obviously they don't use validity proofs. They use fraud proofs, which doesn't require a submission unless something goes wrong or unless you catch fraud. But there's other things like the coming soon here for proof submissions for Starknet and then for Paradex as well on the bottom here. But this page will keep being updated over time, and you can keep an eye on it to see what this stuff's all about. But yeah, I mean, I've said it so many times, but I'll say it again, guys. We don't deserve L2B. They're just such an amazing solution, such an amazing resource, I should say, to the issue of what's going on with all the L2s. Between them and Grow the Pie, which I've growthepie.com, which I've showed before, they're just doing amazing work to make sure that we have a complete view of the L2 ecosystem, and kudos to both of those teams for that. But anyway, I'm going to stop gushing there. You can go check out this page for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, Matcha has announced something really big. So they've announced cross-chain swaps on Matcha. So you can swap directly for tokens across 7 different chains, including L2s and L1s, self-custody the whole way, and you can tap into Matcha's aggregated liquidity across 100 decentralized exchanges. Guys, the reason why I am covering this is not just because it's a really cool feature, but also because I want to say I told you so. And the reason I want to say I told you so is because how many times have I told you that all of this chain stuff is going to be abstracted away? All of this fragmented liquidity stuff is going to be abstracted away. Now, as a user of Matcha, you don't worry about any of this. You put in what you want to trade in the cross-chain thing here. You can see on the video. You want to trade 100 USDC for wrapped ETH, and then it sources that from everywhere, depending on the chain that you're on, right? From all of the supported chains here. I think there's Ethereum, Ethereum mainnet, Polygon, POS chain, Optimism, Arbitrum, BSC, and Avalanche are supported. Obviously, more and more chains will be supported over time, but this is the end game, guys. This is what most users are going to be doing. They're not going to be bridging here and there or whatever, right? They're going to be just doing it all from one super app like Matcha or some other aggregator like Swap or whatever it is, or Uniswap X, right? That's the end game. And users will never have to deal with any of the issues that people say they're going to have to deal with, like fragmented liquidity and bridging and stuff like that. No, not at all. And this is actually powered by a bridge in the back end. It's powered by Socket, which is a bridging protocol in the back end. And that's how they're able to do this cross-chain swap. And that's how they're able to do it as seamlessly as they are. But again, it goes back to what I was saying, that stop believing these narratives that L2s are going to suck because they're fragmented. That's not the reality at all. L2s are going to be awesome because we have these solutions that allow us to essentially bring them all together, and it doesn't matter where the liquidity is sourced from. It just matters what the user gets in the end and what chain they're on. If you're on Arbitrum, it doesn't matter. If you're on Optimism, it doesn't matter. You get to tap into liquidity from the other chains by using Matcha here. And you know what's funny? This is something that I've been talking about for years. Like, this is not a new thing for me, guys. And anyone who's watched the Refuel for years knows this. I've been saying it for years that this would happen, and it just feels good to be right, I guess. But I'm not trying to toot my own horn here a little bit. But it's frustrating for me as someone who kind of sees so far out because I'm just so plugged into the ecosystem when people say that these are issues that can't be resolved. Like, what do you mean they're issues that can't be resolved? Of course they can. We have the technology to do this, and here it is. It's resolved. Like, there's no issues anymore on these things. It's just that it really is at this point a game of refining it, making it a better user experience generally, abstracting away things like gas fees, which we're already doing as well. I mean, CowSwap has already done this, right? So we're doing all of that. It's all happening. It's happening probably a little bit faster than I thought it would, which is cool. But it's still going to be a while before it obviously penetrates into the mainstream and stuff like that. But the fact that it's already happening just kills all of those bad narratives, in my opinion, about L2s. But of course, the narrative is the narrative. You guys know the reality, but the reality takes time to play out. But yeah, cool to see this from Matcha today. And congrats to them on getting this out there. And congrats to Socket on getting this integration. It's a pretty big deal. All right, so I think I mentioned Fluent, which is a new zkWASM L2 on Ethereum. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago now, and they put together a thread about all the benefits of the zkWASM VM here, and you can read this thread. I'll link in the YouTube description below. But the reason why I'm excited about this is that it expands on what's already possible with with zk, but not with the EVM, with the new Fluent VM, right? With WASM, which is WebAssembly, which is something the Ethereum ecosystem has been interested in doing for quite a while now. And I know Polygon is working on this with Nia, but Fluent is basically being built from the ground up in order to enable this, in order to enable new use cases taking advantage of this as well. So if you're interested in learning more about that and more about Fluent VM, you can go read this thread as well as their documentation. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, so I just wanted to highlight this really fun video from Polygon today, all about their identity solution, which is Polygon ID. So you'll recognize one of the characters in this video, Hudson Jameson, longtime Ethereum community member. Was instrumental in the earliest days of Ethereum up until I think 2019 or 2020, and he's part of Polygon now. So he works at Polygon now in governance there. So Hudson is one of my favorite people in the ecosystem. But in this video, him and I don't know the woman's name here, actually. Sorry to her. I don't recognize her. But they basically do a video on Polygon, on ID generally, and about how broken ID is today, or how broken identity is today, and how Polygon ID can actually fix that. So I just wanted to give a shout out there. You can go check out the video for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, a big announcement out of Safe today. So they've introduced something called SafeAuth. So in partnerships with Web3 Auth, they've introduced SafeAuth, which is harnessing the power of portable smart accounts through a single social login, accessible, interoperable, and portable. So what is SafeAuth? Well, much like a single sign-on in Web2, such as signing on to with Gmail or with Google or with Facebook, SafeAuth allows Web3 users to easily set up a smart account using a familiar authentication method like their Google account, with no seed phrases, nothing of the sort. So you can basically set up your own Ethereum account, essentially, just using your Google account here, which, as I've said before as well, this is the future of how most people are going to be creating a Ethereum wallet, or creating a wallet for Ethereum and L2s and stuff like that. It's not going to be managing private keys and seed phrases and all that crap. It's going to be basically using what they're already used to, like a Google account, and being able to essentially plug that in to the on-chain ecosystem and get all of the benefits of this. Now, this, of course, is a developer tool that they've announced today, but this will be integrated into wallets and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, the future of wallets is looking really bright, guys, not just from a UX perspective and I guess usability perspective generally, but also from a security perspective too, because showing users a seed phrase and expecting them to secure that is not a very good security practice. I mean, I would say it's a pretty horrible security practice, especially for most users who have no idea that seed phrase actually gives a person access to their entire balance. So getting rid of that, abstracting that away, making sure users don't have to deal with that is a boon for not just UX, but also security. You can go check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, Balancer V3 has been announced. So this is a major innovation from Balancer today, or a major announcement from Balancer today. They've completely overhauled and refined their product here with multiple new pool constructs, streamlined AMM tooling, and native yield-bearing technology in Balancer V3. So you can get the full details of this. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. There's a little post here. But kudos to Balancer for this. Obviously, Balancer is one of the OG DeFi protocols. They've been around for quite a while now. I think recently they suffered a bit of a security incident, which unfortunately may have set them back a little bit in terms of adoption, because that's just the way it goes. But with V3 on the horizon, set to launch in early Q2 of 2024, I think Balancer is set for a renaissance here with all of these really cool features. So you can go check this out for yourself. As I said, I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. And I think on that note, that's going to be it for today. So thank everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.